大家好. In this Chinese lesson, our topic is to know and to understand in Mandarin Chinese. I'm going to talk about 认识 versus 知道, 懂 versus 明白, 了解 versus 理解. What's the difference between them? It's a question asked by almost every Chinese learner because you can hardly find the answer in a dictionary or a textbook. I'm going to share with you my answer, and after watching this video, you're going to find everything is clear to you. And there's a little quiz in the end of the video for you to try out what you have learned. Let's get started. 认识 versus 知道. Let's start with something simple. 很高兴认识你. 很高兴认识你. Nice to meet you. I didn't highlight to meet because the literal translation for the sentence should be very glad to know you. So 认识 here means to know. And let's see the second sentence with 知道. 我不知道. 我不知道. I don't know. 知道 also means to know here. What's the difference between 认识 and 知道? It's not easy for you to see the difference in these two separate sentences. But if I put them in one sentence, that will be easier for you to see the difference. Let's see it. 认识 plus something. 知道 plus something. 我认识这个汉字，可是不知道怎么写。我认识这个汉字，可是不知道怎么写。Now you can see they're in the same sentence. Let me explain to you what's the difference between them. 我认识这个汉字. Actually, 认识 here means to recognize. When I see the character, I can tell what it is. So, a better translation for 认识 is 认识 plus something means to recognize something. When you see something and you can tell what it is. 知道 is to have the knowledge about something. 不知道怎么写 means don't have the knowledge about how to write it. 认识 and 知道 can both go with something and somebody. Let's see another example. 认识 plus somebody. 知道 plus something. 我认识那个男的，他是马克的朋友，可是我不知道他的名字。我认识那个男的，他是马克的朋友，可是我不知道他的名字。I know that man. He is Mark's friend, but I don't know his name. Think about it. This 认识 also means to recognize. 我认识那个男的 means when I see him, I can tell who he is. So, 认识 plus somebody means to recognize somebody. 知道 plus somebody. 认识 plus somebody. Let's see the sentence. 我知道孔子，可是我不认识他。我知道孔子，可是我不认识他。I know Confucius, but I don't know him. See, in English, you can hardly see the difference between 知道 and 认识. Let me analyze it for you. 我知道孔子。I know Confucius. A better translation for this 知道 should be know about or heard about. When 知道 goes with somebody, it means you know about or heard about somebody. You've never met him before. You couldn't tell who he is. 我不认识他. Actually, it means I don't recognize him. Of course, I don't recognize him. He passed away thousands of years ago, and we didn't have a camera then. Okay, let me summarize them for you. 认识 plus something means recognize something. 认识 plus somebody means recognize somebody. It means when you see something or somebody, you can tell what it is or who he is. 知道 plus something means have the knowledge about something. 知道 plus somebody means know about or heard about somebody. Okay, we have done the first pair, 认识 versus 知道. Let's move on with the second pair, 懂 versus 明白. What's the difference between them? 懂 versus 明白. 我听不懂. 我听不懂. You can find the translation in the dictionary. It is, I don't understand. You can also find another translation for I don't understand. It is, 我不明白. 我不明白. What's the difference between these two expressions? Let me analyze it for you. Actually, 我听不懂 means I hear but don't understand. You may ask, why don't we just say 我不懂? Because 懂 by itself means something different. Let's see an example with the 懂 as the only verb in the sentence. 懂 plus something. 他懂法语. 他懂法语. He understands French. That's the translation you can find in the dictionary. My translation for that is, he has the capability to understand French. 懂 by itself means to have the capability to understand. So, 我听不懂, a better, more detailed translation should be, I am not capable of understanding what I was hearing. The implied meaning is, it doesn't work even if you repeat it or explain it. But what if we say, 我听不明白? 我听不明白 means I don't understand what I was hearing. So, I need you to explain it. That's the difference between 听不懂 and 听不明白. So, 明白 plus something. For example, 我不明白你说的话. 我不明白你说的话. I don't understand what you said. The same. I need you to explain it. 明白 simply means to understand. 懂 can also go with somebody. For example, 很多女人抱怨男人不懂她们. 很多女人抱怨男人不懂她们. Lots of women complain that men don't understand them. Now you can see a better translation for 懂 here is have the capability to understand. It makes more sense. Lots of women complain that men don't have the capability to understand them. I don't understand you. Can we translate the sentence into 我不明白你? I'm sorry to say, it's wrong. 明白 cannot go with somebody. We have to change that somebody into something. So a better way to say I don't understand you should be 我不明白你的意思. 我不明白你的意思. That is, I don't understand what you mean. 我不明白你的意思. Okay, let me summarize them for you. 懂 plus something or 懂 plus somebody means have the capability to understand something or somebody. 明白 plus something. It simply means to understand something. 明白 cannot go with somebody. Let's move on. We have done the second pair. Let's move on to the third pair. 了解 versus 理解. What's the difference between them? 了解 versus 理解. 了解 can also go with a something or a somebody, and it has two meanings. Number one, to know well. Number two, to get to know. Let's start with number one. 了解 plus something or somebody. To know well. For example, 我了解这个城市. 我了解这个城市. I know the city well. Means I'm familiar with the city. I know where to have good food or to have fun. Let's move on with somebody. 他 是我的老朋友，我了解他。他是我的老朋友，我了解他。He's my old friend. I know him well. Means I'm familiar with him. I know well about what he likes or dislikes. Meaning number 2, to get to know. 我要了解那里的情况。我要了解那里的情况。I want to get to know the situation there. So right now, I don't know the situation there, but I want to know. 你们可以聊聊，互相了解一下。你们可以聊聊，互相了解一下。You guys can have a chat to get to know each other. This is an important expression when you're introducing your friends to know each other. 你们可以聊聊，互相了解一下。理解 plus something or somebody. It means to understand, but is to understand deeply. It's more about the reason or the logic. So you're going to ask, what's the difference between 明白 and 理解? They both mean to understand. I made them in 2 successive sentences. You can tell the difference by yourself. 我明白他的意思。我明白他的意思。I understand what she meant. 可是我不理解她为什么哭了。可是我不理解她为什么哭了。But I don't understand why she cried. I highlighted what and why. So we can remember the difference between 明白 and 理解 in this simple way. 明白 versus 理解. The difference is 明白 means to understand what, while 理解 is to understand why. That's it. Thank you for your understanding. How do you translate it into Chinese? Are you going to use 明白 or 理解? Think about it. 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Let me show you the answer. 谢谢你的理解。谢谢你的理解。Why do we use 理解? Because someone forgives you or has the empathy for you. Then you say, thank you for your understanding. In that case, that person understands you deeply. He or she understands why you did something. 了解 versus 理解. I put them in one sentence for you to see the difference. 他了解中国的语言和文化，可是他不理解。他了解中国的语言和文化，可是他不理解。He knows Chinese language and culture well, but he doesn't understand them. This 理解 is more about to understand the logic. If you also don't understand the logic of Chinese language and culture, you've come to the right place. My channel is not only about Chinese language learning, but also about the logic of Chinese language and culture. I also created Ask Andy membership for you to join to know more about the logic of Chinese language and culture. You can click the blue link in the description or the blue join button on YouTube to join Ask Andy membership. I'll see you there. Thank you for your support. I know it's not easy for you to remember the difference between these 6 important verbs. So I created a paragraph. I put them all in a paragraph. I hope it's easier for you to remember the difference with this paragraph. It is 我知道孔子，可是我不认识他。我知道孔子，可是我不认识他。I know Confucius, but I don't know him. So you can see, I explained it before. This 知道 refers to know about or heard about. This 认识 means to recognize. 很多人明白他的话的意思，可是不懂他。很多人明白他的话的意思，可是不懂他。Many people understand the meaning of his words, but don't understand him. So, this 明白 is just to understand. This 懂 is to have the capability to understand. 我知道孔子，可是我不认识他。很多人明白他的话的意思，可是不懂他。我看了很多关于孔子的书，了解了他的思想，可以理解他了。我看了很多关于孔子的书，了解了他的思想，可以理解他了。I read a lot of books about Confucius and got to know his thoughts well, and I can understand him. As you can see, I highlighted 了 in the paragraph. If you want to know more about how to use 了 in Mandarin Chinese, you can check out the video on my channel. I also share the link in the description below. This 了解 means got to know well. This 理解 is to understand deeply. It's more about to understand why he said those words or his logic. Okay, let me finish this Chinese lesson with a little quiz. Try to translate these two sentences into Chinese. Sentence 1. I know him, but he doesn't know me. Sentence 2. I can understand you. You can leave your answer as a comment below. I will find time to correct your answer. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. 再见.